the Marlborough Multi-Cap Income Fund invests in small, medium, and large-size companies. Generally, well, I should actually say always profitable companies. And it is a dividend-seeking fund. So the idea is to provide you a steady and growing income over time, but also some capital growth. Qualitative and quantitative. So the qualitative side is really about going and meeting companies on the ground, meeting the management teams, usually the senior management, the CEO, the CFO, but also attending conferences, meeting with analysts on the side, going and talking to all sorts of industry experts, and then doing our own due diligence, as it were, in terms of reading all the financials, discussing with the team, and there is a wide team here. And then the quantitative side is really becoming much more stock-specific about it, studying the balance sheet, the cash flow, and trying to understand whether the dividend that is being sought is actually sustainable, affordable, and whether it's just a sort of a one-shot thing where it might be there for a year or two, whether there's any risk. And obviously what we're trying to do is cut the risk. We want something that is solid, that isn't a burden, that management teams don't need convincing of. And usually the best companies we see have tremendous cash flow, very strong balance sheets, and can afford to do both growth and income, and that's what we want. The risks are that it does invest in smaller companies, so it can be volatile. And the way we manage it is by actually having small positions in the more volatile ones, so you can actually get in and out of them, and that covers the liquidity risk as well. But diversification another way too, which is that most of my peers and the industry tend to have a much more concentrated portfolio. What we do is we have a wider set, so it's typically 100 plus companies. And again, we also have the ability to buy some foreign companies, so we use that quota, not too much, but they'll be large cap, liquid, and they will meet the process and all the requirements that we have for dividends. So that's, I suppose, the way we manage risk is to try and reduce the danger of having a dividend cut by being able to also anticipate and doing all the due diligence that's required. Now, of course, from time to time, you'll get profit warnings, and then actually that could even be an opportunity if you think it's a one-off or there's a very good reason for it. So sometimes risk becomes an opportunity, but you've got to have a long-term horizon on a fund like this. ESG has always been important, but I think the label or the terminology has come about in the recent years where we've got to explain exactly what we do and how the process fits. Now, if I go back to the very beginning, we've never ever bought a tobacco stock. We are incredibly underweight on defense and arms. So that continues. That's very much part of the process. But ultimately, it's about investing in good people as well. And if you can focus on the G, which is the governance side of the ESG, then really the E, the environment, and the S, the social, should also follow. And I think what we do is we put our faith in the management teams to adhere by the policies. We monitor the progress that they set out within the frameworks, the targets that they've announced. The sustainability reports have, to a certain extent, always been there, but they've got a lot more detail now. And I think they are very much sort of in tune with these new labels of how they want to achieve all the different targets, whether it's emissions or scope 1, 2, 3, and so on. And so our job isn't to tell them what they should be doing. It's much more to monitor whether they are doing what they've set out to do. Well, you could buy 3 income funds, and chances are that the majority of those income funds will invest in the same things. If you look at the top 10, that is not because there is a lack of creativity, but really the opportunity set for income in the FTSE 100, if you look at that index, or even the all-share index, the bulk of the income comes from a handful of stocks. So it's something like 15 companies make up over 60% of all dividends paid. And what we're trying to do is actually, again, offer you a fund that doesn't rely on all those same companies. So this is very uncorrelated. And so what this is really meant to do is to sit alongside your other income opportunity funds. And it's not trying to take away from anything else. I think there are some great funds there, large cap, small cap, and mid cap. But this is one of the first multi-cap income funds that was launched in 2011. So there's a long record, more than double the returns since launch. The income yield has actually been delivered every single year in terms of the objective. And we intend to do that again.